Have you ever wondered why billionaires argue over 25-cent coupons, or why multimillionaires drive cars older than your college debt? What you're about to discover will completely flip your understanding of how the wealthy actually think about money. I'm talking about money-saving strategies so bizarre, so counterintuitive, that they sound absolutely insane until you realize they're the exact habits that built empires worth billions of dollars. Today, I'm revealing 10 outrageous money-saving hacks that the ultra-wealthy swear by, and I guarantee at least 3 of these will make you question everything you thought you knew about rich people. Some of these strategies are so unconventional that when you first hear them, you'll think I've lost my mind. But stick with me because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why these seemingly crazy habits are actually genius-level financial strategies that you can start using today. The first hack is going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but it's practiced by more millionaires than you might think. Warren Buffett, one of the richest people on earth, still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. That house is now worth around $600,000. But here's the kicker. Buffett could afford to buy the most expensive mansion in every state and still have money left over for a private island. This isn't just about being cheap or nostalgic. The wealthy understand something most people miss completely. Your home should be a place to live, not a financial anchor that drains your wealth. Every dollar you don't spend on an unnecessarily expensive house is a dollar that can be invested and compounded over decades. Buffett's modest home has allowed him to invest billions more in appreciating assets instead of tying up capital in depreciating luxury. The psychology behind this is fascinating. Most people see their home as their biggest investment, but wealthy individuals see it as their biggest potential liability. They understand that a house doesn't generate income. It consumes it through maintenance, taxes, insurance, and opportunity cost. By keeping housing costs reasonable, they free up massive amounts of capital for investments that actually make money while they sleep. Here's the second hack that sounds completely backwards. Multi-millionaire Mark Cuban famously said he only buys things when they're on sale, even though he could afford full price for anything. This isn't about the money he saves on individual purchases. It's about maintaining a mindset that questions every expense and looks for value in every transaction. The wealthy have trained themselves to never pay full price because they understand that small savings compound into enormous wealth over time. When you consistently save 20 to 30% on purchases by waiting for sales, using coupons, or buying at the right time, you're not just saving money on stuff. You're developing a mental framework that evaluates every financial decision through the lens of maximum value. This mindset extends far beyond shopping for groceries or clothes. It influences how they negotiate business deals, evaluate investment opportunities, and make major financial decisions. Every dollar saved is a dollar that can be invested, and wealthy individuals understand that a dollar invested today could be worth $10 or more in the future. The third hack is probably the most controversial one on this list, and it involves something most people would never consider. Many wealthy individuals intentionally drive older, less expensive cars, not because they can't afford better ones, but because they've calculated the true cost of vehicle ownership and decided it's financial insanity. Take Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, who was famously spotted driving a Honda Fit when he was already worth billions. The average person sees this and thinks he's being weird or cheap. But Zuckerberg understands that a car is a depreciating asset that loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. Every dollar spent on an expensive car is a dollar that's not working to generate more wealth. The psychology here is crucial. Wealthy individuals don't derive their status or self-worth from material possessions. They understand that true wealth comes from assets that appreciate and generate income, not from impressing strangers with expensive toys that lose value every single day. A reliable, efficient vehicle serves the same transportation purpose as a luxury car, but frees up tens of thousands of dollars for wealth-building activities. This connects to a broader principle that wealthy people live by. They spend money on assets and minimize spending on liabilities. A car that gets you from point A to point B is a tool, not a status symbol. The money saved by choosing practicality over prestige can be invested in businesses, real estate, or other appreciating assets that actually build wealth over time. The fourth hack involves something that might shock you about how the wealthy approach everyday expenses. Many ultra-rich individuals still use coupons, shop at discount stores, and look for deals on routine purchases. This isn't because they need to save money, it's because they understand that wealthy habits are consistent habits, regardless of your bank account balance. There's a psychological principle at work here called identity-based behavior. Wealthy people maintain the money-conscious habits that made them wealthy in the first place. They don't suddenly start wastefully spending just because they can afford to. Instead, they recognize that the mindset and behaviors that build wealth must be maintained to preserve and grow that wealth. This approach also keeps them grounded and connected to the real value of money. When you maintain cost-conscious habits, you stay aware of what things actually cost and continue to make rational financial decisions rather than emotional ones. It's a form of mental training that prevents lifestyle inflation from eroding wealth over time. The fifth hack is something that sounds completely backwards to most people's understanding of wealthy behavior. Many millionaires and billionaires intentionally choose smaller living spaces, even when they could afford massive mansions. This isn't about being minimalist for aesthetic reasons. It's about understanding the hidden costs of space. Every square foot of living space requires heating, cooling, cleaning, maintenance, and furnishing. Larger homes don't just cost more upfront, they have higher ongoing expenses that continue forever. Wealthy individuals calculate these lifetime costs and often decide that the money saved by living in appropriately sized spaces can be better invested elsewhere. There's also a psychological benefit to this approach. Smaller spaces force you to be more intentional about your possessions and prevent the accumulation of unnecessary stuff. When you have less space to fill, you naturally become more selective about what you bring into your life, which reinforces mindful spending habits. This principle extends beyond housing to all areas of consumption. Wealthy individuals often ask themselves not just whether they can afford something, but whether it adds genuine value to their lives or simply creates more complexity and maintenance costs. The sixth hack involves a strategy that most people would consider embarrassing or beneath them. Many wealthy individuals negotiate on everything, not because they can't afford full price, but because negotiation is a skill that compounds wealth over time. They negotiate phone bills, insurance premiums, service contracts, and even routine purchases. The power of systematic negotiation is staggering when you calculate it over a lifetime. Saving just $50 per month through various negotiations adds up to $600 per year. Invested at a reasonable return rate over several decades, those savings can grow into substantial wealth. But more importantly, the skill of negotiation itself becomes increasingly valuable as your financial stakes get higher. Wealthy individuals understand that every negotiation is practice for bigger negotiations. The confidence and skills developed by negotiating smaller expenses prepare you for negotiating salaries, business deals, and investment terms, where the stakes are much higher. It's not about the individual savings, it's about developing a wealth-building skill set. The seventh hack is something that sounds completely counterintuitive in our instant gratification culture. Wealthy individuals delay purchases, even when they can easily afford them immediately. They've mastered the art of the strategic delay, using time as a tool to evaluate whether purchases are truly necessary and to find better deals. This delay serves multiple purposes. First, it eliminates impulse purchases that don't add real value to their lives. Second, it often leads to better pricing as items go on sale or better alternatives become available. Third, and most importantly, it reinforces the habit of thoughtful decision-making that prevents wealth erosion through unnecessary spending. The psychological principle behind this is called temporal discounting. Most people overvalue immediate gratification and undervalue future benefits. Wealthy individuals have trained themselves to reverse this tendency, understanding that delayed gratification often leads to better outcomes and more money remaining in their investment accounts. The eighth hack involves something that might surprise you about how the wealthy approach entertainment and luxury experiences. Instead of constantly upgrading to the latest and greatest, they often squeeze maximum value out of existing possessions and experiences. They'll use electronics until they completely stop working, wear clothes until they're genuinely worn out, and find free or low-cost entertainment options. This isn't about being cheap. It's about understanding the difference between needs and wants, and recognizing that happiness doesn't come from constantly acquiring new things. Wealthy individuals often find that they get more satisfaction from maximizing the value of what they already have rather than constantly chasing the next purchase. There's also a compound effect at work here. When you're not constantly replacing things that still work, you're not just saving money on the individual items. You're saving time, mental energy, and the opportunity costs of researching and purchasing replacements. All of that time and money can be redirected toward wealth-building activities. The ninth hack is probably the most psychologically challenging for most people to understand. Many wealthy individuals intentionally surround themselves with people who are less wealthy than they are, specifically to avoid lifestyle inflation and competitive spending. They understand that your peer group heavily influences your spending habits and financial decisions. This strategy serves as a natural defense against keeping up with the Joneses syndrome. When your social circle isn't constantly upgrading their lifestyle, you're less likely to feel pressure to upgrade yours. This allows wealthy individuals to maintain reasonable living expenses even as their wealth grows dramatically. The psychological research on this is fascinating. Social comparison is one of the strongest drivers of spending behavior. People tend to spend money to signal status relative to their peer group. By carefully choosing their social environment, wealthy individuals can maintain wealth-building habits without feeling deprived or left behind. The 10th and final hack is the most powerful one, and it ties all the others together. Wealthy individuals think in terms of opportunity cost for every financial decision. Every dollar spent on one thing is a dollar that can't be invested in something else. They've trained themselves to automatically calculate what each expense costs them in terms of future wealth. For example, instead of seeing a luxury car as costing $50,000, they see it as costing the future value of $50,000 invested over 20 years, which could be several $100,000 or more. This mental framework transforms every spending decision into an investment decision. This way of thinking compounds over time because it affects thousands of financial decisions throughout your life. Each time you choose to invest money instead of spending it on something unnecessary, you're not just saving that money, you're earning returns on it for decades to come. The beautiful thing about all these hacks is that they're not really about the money saved on individual transactions. They're about developing and maintaining a wealth-building mindset that compounds over time. Wealthy individuals understand that money habits are more important than money amounts, and that consistent behavior beats perfect behavior every time. What makes these strategies truly powerful is that they work at any income level. You don't need to be rich to start thinking like wealthy people think. You can begin implementing these mindset shifts today, regardless of your current financial situation. The key is understanding that wealth isn't built through single dramatic actions. It's built through thousands of small, consistent decisions that compound over time. Every dollar you save using these strategies is a dollar that can be invested in your future wealth. These hacks might sound insane when you first hear them, but they represent a fundamental shift in how you think about money, value, and wealth building. The wealthy understand that true financial freedom comes not from earning more money, but from keeping more of the money you earn and putting it to work, building assets that generate income over time. Start with just one or two of these strategies and gradually incorporate more as they become natural habits. Remember, the goal isn't to become cheap or to deprive yourself of things you truly value. The goal is to become intentional about every financial decision and to optimize your money for maximum long-term wealth building rather than short-term gratification. The wealthy individuals who use these strategies aren't sacrificing their happiness. They're maximizing their financial freedom and creating options for their future selves. That's the real secret behind these seemingly crazy money-saving hacks.